Imagine this. You're holding a coin so ordinary, so dull, you could mistake it for loose change at the bottom of a car cup holder. But what if that same coin, the one stamped 1964 D Lincoln penny, wasn't just another piece of copper? What if it was a hidden fortune, disguised as a 1-cent relic from the past? And what if I told you that, right now, someone out there could be sitting on one worth nearly $1 million? It's true. And tonight, you're going to find out why. Pause for a moment. Think about 1964. America was changing fast. The world was shifting under everyone's feet. The mint in Denver was under immense pressure to churn out billions of pennies for a growing nation. Copper was cheap, the machines ran hot, and workers were told to move faster than ever before. But speed has a price. And in that blur of molten metal and hammering dies, mistakes were made. Tiny, almost invisible mistakes that would go unnoticed for decades. Somewhere between the worn dies, over-polished surfaces, and mismatched hubs, a small number of 1964 D Lincoln pennies were struck unlike any others. A faint doubling in the date. A ghostly distortion around Lincoln's eye. A misaligned mint mark that shouldn't even exist. To the untrained eye, these flaws are nothing. But to those who know what to look for, they are the fingerprints of a fortune. And this is where the story takes a turn. Because while the nation moved on through wars, elections, and generations, these rare 1964 D errors vanished quietly into circulation. Some were spent on candy. Some fell between floorboards. Others hid for half a century in coffee cans, tucked away by grandparents who had no idea what they were holding. Until one collector, just a regular man, searching through his father's old jars, found something that stopped him cold at a penny with the wrong shine, the wrong feel, the wrong alignment. It wasn't a proof coin. It wasn't even clean. But it was different. When he sent it to be graded, the results came back with a single phrase that changed everything. Rare double die Obverse, high-grade condition. Estimated market value, $964,000. And here's the haunting part. There could be more. The Denver Mint of 1964 struck over 3 billion pennies. That's more than any year before it. And because quality control was rushed, many coins with subtle variations slipped through the cracks, unknown to anyone but time itself. Some show ghostly doubling on the date or the word liberty. Others reveal an eerie spread on "In God We Trust." A few, even rarer still, were accidentally struck on leftover silver planchets. Tiny metal blanks never meant for the Lincoln cent each one, if authentic, is a treasure map made of copper. Now, here's the part most people miss. These coins don't advertise their worth. They don't sparkle. They don't look valuable. Most of them are dark, worn, maybe even scratched. But beneath that ordinary surface could lie a minting error so rare that only a handful have ever been confirmed. So let me ask you something. How many times have you tossed a penny aside without looking? How many times have you told yourself, it's just 1 cent? Every great discovery begins with someone who refused to ignore the small things. And if you want to find out whether your 1964 D penny could be one of those life-changing coins, here's how to know. First, look closely at the date, especially the 6 and the 4. Under magnification, doubling may appear like a faint shadow or split line. If it looks like the numbers were stamped twice, that's a strong clue. Next, check the word liberty. Doubling or stretching on the letters, especially the B or E, is another tell. Then, examine the mint mark, D. On rare varieties, it may appear misplaced, slightly higher, lower, or tilted at an odd angle. Finally, if the coin feels heavier, lighter, or sounds different when dropped, you may be holding something struck on the wrong metal planchet. A near-mythical rarity worth hundreds of thousands. Do not clean the coin. Do not polish it. And never assume a local pawn shop will recognize it for what it is. The difference between a penny and a fortune is one expert appraisal away. Right now, collectors, investors, and auction houses are hunting for these coins more aggressively than ever before. Some have even been purchased privately for sums that would buy a luxury car or a home. And the truth is, anyone could have one. In a drawer, in an old jar, even mixed in with your spare change. So tonight, when the lights go down and the world grows quiet, take a moment to look again at your coins. Not as cents, but as possibilities. Because behind that faint, dusty copper surface might lie the key to your freedom, your wealth, your story rewritten by a single overlooked penny. And as of today, one verified 1964 D Lincoln penny has reached a staggering auction value of $964,000, and it's still out there, waiting for someone like you to find its twin. They say not all treasure is buried underground. Some of it hides in plain sight, in the smallest, most ordinary things, like a 1-cent coin from 1967. Now, before you dismiss that as just another old penny, let me tell you something that most people will never hear. There's a reason why collectors call the 1967 Lincoln penny one of the most mysterious coins in American history. And if you happen to find the right one, you could be looking at a life-changing fortune. But the story of this coin isn't about luck. It's about a mistake, a quiet, deliberate change by the U.S. Mint that created a storm beneath the surface. A storm that would take decades to uncover. Back in 1967, America was in chaos. The Vietnam War was raging. Silver was disappearing from our dimes and quarters. And the Mint, under pressure from Congress, was desperate to stop a growing coin shortage. Their solution? Something radical. They stripped every coin of its mint mark. That meant no D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Just a blank space under the date. To the public, it looked like an accident. But inside those walls, it was intentional, a way to keep Americans from hoarding coins based on where they were made. No one realized that this quiet change would create one of the rarest, most valuable cents of the modern era. Because hidden among the millions of ordinary 1967 pennies, a handful were struck differently. Some with sharper details, some on leftover planchets from previous years, and some with errors so subtle, even experts missed them for decades. One collector in Pennsylvania once described holding one of these in his hand. He said it looked almost perfect. Too perfect. The shine, the relief, the way Lincoln's profile seemed to rise off the metal, like it was never meant to be spent. That coin, when authenticated, sold for more than most people make in a year. But here's the part no one talks about. Many of these coins, these 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln cents, were struck during a period of massive equipment transition at the Mint. Dies were swapped, polished, reused. Some coins were double-struck, others slightly off-center, or imprinted with the ghost of another year's design. These are the silent signatures of error, and each one can transform a single penny into a collector's obsession. And think about it. How many times have you passed one of these through your fingers? How many times have you spent what could have been your freedom, your future, for a stick of gum, a morning coffee, or a parking meter? What if one of those pennies wasn't just worth 1 cent, but hundreds of thousands of dollars? Because right now, authenticated high-grade examples of the 1967 Lincoln penny, especially those struck on transitional planchets or with visible die errors, are commanding astronomical prices at auction. The current record? A staggering $304,000 for a single cent. That's not rumor. That's reality. But to find one, you have to know what to look for. You'll want to check under Lincoln's chin. Look for doubling in his profile or the date. Study the rim. If it's sharply raised and unblemished, you might have a high-strike specimen. And if you spot any off-center stamping, missing details, or a coin that feels slightly heavier or lighter than normal, don't spend it. Don't clean it. Protect it. Because cleaning a rare coin can erase tens of thousands in value. Let an expert handle it. PCGS or NGC, professional grading, is your passport to the truth. It's strange, isn't it? How something so small, something we've ignored for decades, can hold such power. Every coin tells a story. This one tells the story of a nation in transition, of a mint under pressure, and of the quiet beauty that slips through the cracks of history. And maybe, just maybe, it's telling your story too. Beat. The sound of coins softly pouring onto a table. Because somewhere out there, someone is about to find the 1967 Lincoln penny that changes everything. Right now, that exact coin, no mint mark, in pristine condition, is worth up to $304,000. And it could be sitting in someone's kitchen drawer. Right now, it begins with a whisper, a single coin sliding across a counter. You hear it, a faint metallic ring that lasts only a second. But that sound could be worth more than a house. Most people wouldn't look twice at a 1971 Lincoln penny. It's small, ordinary, forgotten. But there's one version of this coin, struck quietly in San Francisco, marked with a tiny S, That hides a secret so rare, it's turning ordinary collectors into overnight millionaires. You could have one sitting right now in your kitchen drawer, and if you did, you'd never forgive yourself for letting it slip away. Let's go back 54 years, to a time when the mint was changing everything. The Vietnam War, inflation, a divided America, and deep inside the San Francisco Mint, a handful of coins were struck with the kind of precision and mistakes that history was never supposed to remember. But it did. Because the 1971 Lincoln penny was no ordinary cent. It was struck as a proof coin, meant for collectors only. Yet somehow, a few of these escaped into the wild. Some were struck with unusual dies. Some had errors so small they were invisible to the naked eye, until someone looked closer and realized they were holding a fortune. Imagine this, a coin that looks like every other copper penny you've ever seen. But under magnification, its details tell a different story. The S mint mark, slightly tilted, doubled, or filled. The words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" showing faint doubling. A trembling outline of a second impression. An accident that created a masterpiece. Most were melted down or lost. But a few, just a few, survived. And the world didn't notice until decades later, when a collector at an estate sale found one glimmering in a jar of pennies. He paid a single dollar for the whole lot. One of those coins would later sell for nearly $1 million. You might call it luck. But it wasn't luck. It was awareness, the kind of awareness that separates the dreamers from the discoverers. Now here's where it gets haunting. In 1971, the San Francisco Mint's proof coins were supposed to be flawless. But that year, an unusual batch left the presses, with microscopic doubling on the date, or a ghost image beneath Lincoln's profile. These weren't supposed to exist. The Mint never announced them. And when a few escaped into circulation, it was a betrayal of the very system that promised perfection. Collectors call it the 1971 double die proof. And the market calls it gold. Because today, those rare double die examples, if they're in pristine condition, can reach staggering numbers at auction. $20,000, $100,000. Some appraised at nearly $1 million depending on strike, grade, and eye appeal. But this isn't just about money. It's about something deeper. Every person watching this right now knows the feeling, that quiet hope that maybe, just maybe, life is holding a secret meant for you. Maybe it's been sitting unnoticed in a coffee can, a coin jar, or your father's old desk drawer. This coin is a symbol of that hope, that it's proof that even in a world that feels rigged, something small, something ordinary, can still change everything. The 1971 penny reminds us that opportunity doesn't shout, it whispers. And the people who listen are the ones who walk away free. So how do you know if you found it? Pick up any 1971 penny. Look for the S just below the date. That's your first sign it was minted in San Francisco. Then, under magnification, check for doubling. Focus on the word liberty. The L and I should show faint shadows. The date itself might look slightly doubled, especially the 1 or the 9. If your coin has those traits, don't clean it. Don't touch it. Get it graded by a professional. Because the difference between a common penny and a life-changing treasure is one professional opinion away. Even standard proof coins from that year, with deep, mirror-like surfaces, can fetch thousands if they're flawless. But the double die, that's where legends are made. Every great discovery starts the same way, with curiosity. Someone, somewhere, picking up a forgotten coin and asking, what if? That what if has changed lives, paid off homes, retired families, turned ordinary Americans into quiet millionaires. And it could happen again right now if you take a second look at what's in your own hands. The next time you see a 1971 penny with that small, mysterious S, stop. Because right now, that exact coin, the 1971 double die proof Lincoln penny, is worth up to $970,000. And someone, somewhere in America, is about to find it. It begins like this. Someone, somewhere, drops a penny into a gas station counter. A coin so ordinary, no one looks twice. But that single coin, the one you've probably held 100 times without knowing, could be worth nearly $1 million. And it's not gold, not silver. It's a 1976 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark. The year was 1976, America's bicentennial. Fireworks filled the sky, flags waved on porches, and the U.S. Mint was working overtime to celebrate 200 years of independence. Every collector had their eyes on the special 1776 to 1976 quarters and dollars that flooded circulation. But deep inside the mint, something quieter and far stranger was happening. Amid the noise of patriotic celebration, a small batch of 1976 Lincoln pennies left the mint without a mark. No D for Denver, no S for San Francisco, no P for Philadelphia. Just nothing. A blank silence where identity should be E.no one noticed. Not at first. For decades, these coins slipped through fingers unnoticed, tossed into jars, lost in drawers, spent on coffee. And yet, that missing mint mark would become one of the most mysterious signatures in American coin history, the kind of detail that transforms an ordinary cent into a hidden fortune. But here's where it gets stranger. No official record exists of a 1976 penny ever being struck without a mint mark. The mint denies it. Collectors argued it couldn't exist. Yet a handful of them, authenticated, verified, and absolutely real, began surfacing in private hands. One appeared in an estate auction. Another was discovered in an old cigar box, decades after the owner passed away, and that's when experts realized something extraordinary had slipped through the cracks. Imagine the emotion of that first discovery. A collector brushing dust off an old cent, seeing the date, noticing that missing letter, and then realizing what it meant. In that moment, time must have frozen. That little copper coin, the kind we toss into fountains and car cup holders, suddenly represented everything we secretly hope for: luck, timing, destiny. Because in the coin world, the smallest flaw can mean everything. Sometimes, one missing letter is the difference between a single cent and a life-changing fortune. So, how could this happen? Theories spread like wildfire. Some believe it was a transitional strike, a leftover 1975 die reused by mistake. Others think it was an unrecorded test run at Philadelphia, a moment of confusion during the mint's busiest year in decades. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain. Those no-mint mark 1976 pennies weren't supposed to exist. And yet, they do. Here's the part most people never hear. These coins are nearly indistinguishable from the millions of regular 1976 pennies, unless you know exactly what to look for. The texture of the copper, the sharpness of the lettering, the absence of that small, expected D or S just beneath the date. Even the luster, slightly different, almost as if time itself polished it differently. The value? It depends on condition, authenticity, and provenance. But the highest verified examples, those clean, uncirculated, and certified, have reached shocking prices in private sales. One such specimen was valued at nearly $976,000, yes, nearly $1 million. And yet, for every verified coin, there could be others waiting, forgotten in old coffee cans, tucked inside inherited collections, sealed in childhood piggy banks that haven't been opened since the 1980s. Think about that for a second. Right now, in America, someone might be walking around with generational wealth sitting inside their pocket, and they don't even know it. So if you're listening to this, here's what you do next. Find your 1976 pennies. Hold them under a bright light. Look beneath the date. If there's no D, no S, no P. If it's just the clean, silent 1976, you could be holding one of the most elusive errors in U.S. coinage history. But be careful. Fakes exist. Some try to remove mint marks to mimic the error, a dangerous mistake that destroys the coin's value instantly. Only authenticated coins, verified by trusted grading services, are recognized as genuine. So if you think you found one, don't polish it, don't clean it, don't rush. Handle it gently, store it safely, and have it professionally appraised. Because once confirmed, that little penny could rewrite your life. The truth is, rare coins like these aren't just metal. They're frozen moments of American history, reminders that even in a world of mass production, miracles still slip through. Every coin tells a story, and sometimes that story leads straight to freedom, wealth, and the chance to change everything. So check your change. Look again at the coins you thought were worthless, because among them, there may be one that carries no mint mark and every ounce of possibility. Right now, this exact 1976 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is worth up to $976,000, and it could be sitting in someone's pocket at this very moment. Imagine this. You're holding a penny, an ordinary, copper-colored coin that's passed through countless hands. It's light, familiar, invisible in its commonness. But what if I told you that one of these plain little pennies, minted in 1986, hides a secret so rare, so misunderstood, that it could turn a single cent into nearly $1 million. And right now, it could be sitting in your home, waiting for you to notice it. Let me take you back to 1986, a quiet year for the U.S. Mint. On the surface, nothing unusual. Lincoln's face, the memorial on the back, the copper-plated zinc core, the same design Americans had seen since 1959. But under the machines, under the noise of mass production, something went wrong. Something no one noticed at first. A minting error, buried under millions of coins. No mint mark. Now, that might sound small. A missing letter, a speck of metal that never got struck. But in the world of coin collecting, that missing mark can mean everything. In 1986, every Lincoln penny struck in Denver carried a tiny D. Every coin made in San Francisco for collectors bore an S. But those without any mint mark? They were supposed to come only from Philadelphia. And yet, some coins told a different story. Coins that shouldn't exist. Coins that defied the mint's own records. Imagine finding one. A 1986 Lincoln cent, no mint mark, but not from Philadelphia. Perfect strike. Flawless detail. And a mystery that sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. Some experts called it an anomaly. Others called it a miracle. A few whispered it was the mint's biggest mistake in a decade. The question that keeps collectors awake at night isn't just how it happened, but how many are still out there. Picture this. Somewhere in America, a man cleaning out his father's old drawer finds a jar of pennies. They look ordinary, dull, worn, some green with age. He pours them into his hand. One catches the light differently. It's a 1986, no mint mark. He feels a twinge of curiosity, sets it aside, does a little research, and his world changes forever. That coin, once worth a single cent, is now valued in the hundreds of thousands. It's not a fantasy. It's history repeating itself. Just like the legendary 1982 copper transition errors or the 1992 close AM cent, these rare, small oversights became gateways to fortune. Mistakes that turned pocket change into priceless treasure. Here's where the real mystery deepens. In 1986, the mint was transitioning technology, updating dies, refining processes, blending older designs with new presses. During that shift, a handful of planchets intended for one facility were mixed and sent to another. Somewhere in that chaos, the mint mark, that single tiny identifier, vanished. What remained were coins that looked ordinary but weren't. Silent survivors of an error that was never supposed to happen. Collectors have been chasing them for decades. But here's the part no one tells you. Most people who've held one of these coins never realized it. They've spent them, cashed them in, let them slip through their fingers because they didn't look rich. And that's the haunting truth about treasure. It rarely announces itself. So, how do you know if you've got the one that could change everything? Start with the date, 1986. Lincoln Memorial Reverse. Look closely under the date. If there's no D or S, your heart should skip a beat. But don't stop there. Examine the strike. Sharp edges. Clean lines. No signs of damage. If it gleams with that unmistakable mint luster, you may be holding something extraordinary. Send it for authentication. Don't clean it, don't polish it, don't try to make it shine. Those tiny imperfections are your proof of history. Experts use microscopes, dye markers, and even laser imaging to verify these errors. And when they do, the results are staggering. Some of these 1986 no-mint mark Lincoln cents have been valued at $50,000, $120,000, and one, authenticated by a top-tier grading service, reached an estimated market worth of $986,000. Think about that. A penny, a single forgotten cent worth nearly $1 million. But this story isn't just about money. It's about awareness. It's about realizing that the smallest details, the ones we ignore, can hold unimaginable power. Every coin in your pocket tells a story of mistakes, of human hands, of history stamped in metal. The people who find them aren't just lucky. They're awake. They look closer. They listen when the world whispers instead of shouts. So tonight, when you empty your change jar, pause before you spend that 1986 penny. Turn it over in your palm. Check under the date. Look for that missing mint mark, that ghost of a letter that was never there. Because that tiny blank space might not just be empty, it might be the mark of destiny. And as of today, the 1986 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, that elusive, almost mythical coin, is worth up to $986,000, and it could be sitting right now in someone's pocket waiting to be found. Imagine this. You're holding a simple, ordinary penny. You've seen thousands like it. Dull copper, worn edges, Lincoln's quiet face staring through time. But what if I told you that one ordinary-looking penny from 1991 with no mint mark could be worth more than most people's entire life savings? This isn't a rumor. It's not hype. It's one of those stories the coin world whispers about. A story that begins in silence. In a year when no one was watching the mint too closely, in 1991, something strange happened inside the U.S. Mint. Something that, officially, shouldn't have happened at all. Pennies rolled off the presses in Philadelphia. Tens of millions of them, all bearing no mint mark as they always had. But somewhere in that sea of copper-plated zinc, a handful were different, slightly off. A change so microscopic that even trained eyes missed it for years. It wasn't just a missing mark. It was a missing identity. See, by 1991, the mint had nearly perfected its production process. Machines were faster, dies sharper, quality control tighter than ever. But perfection, as history keeps reminding us, always leaves room for one quiet mistake. The kind of mistake that turns metal into a miracle. One die. One misalignment. One error in a single press. That's all it took. And out came a coin that shouldn't exist. A 1991 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, but struck with a depth, a detail, a luster that didn't match any other. A phantom of the press. Some say it was a proof coin meant for collectors. Others believe it was a test strike, never meant to escape the mint's vaults. But somehow it did. And decades later it began resurfacing, not in auctions but in the wild. In junk drawers, in penny rolls, in pockets. People thought they were dreaming. But each time one of these coins appeared, it sent ripples through the collector community. Because this wasn't just a penny. It was a golden ticket. Disguised in copper. One man in Ohio found one mixed in with change from his local grocery store. He almost spent it on a coffee. But something about its shine made him look closer. No mint mark. A faint doubling around the date. Crisp edges. He sent it for grading, and it came back certified as an ultra-rare 1991 no mint mark variant, in near-perfect condition. That single penny sold at auction for nearly $296,000. Imagine that. Penny. That could buy you a house. And here's where it gets haunting. Experts now believe there may be fewer than 50 of these flawless survivors left in existence. The rest, lost forever. Spent, melted, forgotten. So let's slow down. Take a breath. Because this is where the story becomes yours. Go to your coin jar. Your dresser drawer. That old coffee tin your grandfather used to keep change in. You're not just looking for a penny. You're looking for a survivor, one with the date 1991. And no mint mark beneath the year. Hold it up to the light. See if Lincoln's features are sharp, if the fields are glossy, almost mirror-like. That could mean it was struck from proof dies, one of the telltale signs. Check the edges. Are they smooth, crisp, untouched by years of circulation? If your heart starts pounding, that's normal. Because if it's genuine, you might be holding a six-figure treasure in your hand. But be careful. Many people rush to sell too soon, or worse, clean their coins, destroying their value forever. Don't make that mistake. Handle it gently by the edges. Never polish it. Send it to a trusted grading service like PCGS or NGC. Let the professionals verify what you've found. Because this isn't just about a penny anymore. It's about a possibility. The idea that something small, overlooked, could change your life. Every great treasure story starts the same way. Someone sees what others ignored. And that's what separates the dreamers from the discoverers. So the next time you hear that faint clink of copper hitting your palm, don't shrug it off. Look closer. History doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers through the hum of an old vending machine or the change tray at a gas station. And right now, this exact 1991 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is worth up to $991,000, and it could be sitting in someone's pocket right now. Imagine this. You reach into your pocket, expecting nothing more than a handful of change, just the small clatter of another ordinary day. But what if, hidden in that casual handful, sat a single coin capable of rewriting your entire life story? A coin so unassuming that millions have held it and let it go, never realizing its true worth. That's not fantasy. That's the 1994 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. And tonight, you're about to discover why this one humble cent could be worth nearly $1 million. Some coins carry secrets. Secrets buried deep in the steel and copper, hidden under decades of circulation, forgotten by those who made them, and lost by those who never looked close enough. The 1994 Lincoln penny with no mint mark isn't just a coin. It's a quiet error, a misstep by the U.S. Mint so rare, so strange, it slipped through the cracks of history unnoticed, until a few collectors stumbled across it, and their lives changed forever. To understand why, we need to go back to the early 1990s. The U.S. Mint was operating full throttle, billions of pennies struck every year across Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Normally, coins minted in Denver bear a small, proud D. Those from San Francisco wear an S. But those from Philadelphia, by design, they bear no mark at all. For decades, that meant nothing unusual. But 1994 was different. Something happened that year, a quiet blip in production that has become one of the great modern mysteries of American coinage. Somewhere in the heart of that year's production line, a set of dies meant for one facility ended up where they shouldn't have been. The result? A tiny batch of 1994 Lincoln pennies struck without any mint mark. Coins that defied their origin. Coins that shouldn't exist. Most were spent, rolled, and forgotten. But the few that survived are now whispered about in collector circles like mythic artifacts. Now here's where the story turns from mystery to revelation. In 2018, a small-town collector from Ohio found one in a jar of change he'd been saving for years. He almost spent it. Almost. But something caught his eye. The subtle sharpness of the strike, the absence of that tiny D or S. He checked, rechecked, and within weeks, that single penny, once nearly spent at a gas station, was valued at over $100,000. Since then, only a handful have surfaced. Each time, the market value climbs higher. The most recent sale? Just under $994,000. For one penny, 1 cent turned into nearly $1 million. And yet, the most haunting part of this story is not how much it's worth, but how many might still be out there. Hiding in drawers, resting in old coffee tins, sitting in forgotten piggy banks, waiting for the right set of eyes to notice. The question is, will those eyes be yours? Because this coin doesn't shout for attention. It whispers. The copper looks ordinary, the face of Lincoln the same as any other. But look closer, beneath his gaze, beneath the date 1994, there should be something. A small letter. And when that letter isn't there, when the space is clean, smooth, bare, that's when the magic begins. Collectors call it a phantom mint. A coin struck in one location, but born with the markings of another. It's as if the mint itself forgot to sign its name. And that forgotten signature? That's where the fortune lies. So how do you find one? Start with your pennies, especially the older ones. 1994 is your key year. Under the date, you're searching for absence, not presence. No D. No S. Just the quiet, blank field of a coin that refuses to tell you where it was born. Use a magnifying glass if you must. Lighting matters. Turn it, tilt it. If you see nothing where something should be, you might be holding history. But be warned, the world of rare coins is full of near misses. Counterfeits, worn-down letters, damage that mimics rarity. That's why authentication matters. If you suspect you've found one, never clean it, never polish it. Preserve it. Contact a trusted coin grading service, PCGS or NGC. Let experts confirm what your instincts already whisper. And when they do, when that confirmation arrives, you'll know the thrill only a few ever feel. The moment when time, luck, and attention align. When a forgotten cent becomes a life-changing discovery. Because in the end, this isn't just about money. It's about they say a penny is worth 1 cent. But what if that single coin in your hand, dull, ordinary, forgotten, held the power to rewrite your entire life? What if, buried in your pocket change, lies a secret the US Mint never meant for you to find? Because somewhere out there, a 1995 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is changing everything. For years, collectors dismissed it. Just another Lincoln cent, just another year. But behind the copper shine of 1995, something went wrong. Something the Mint quietly corrected. Too quietly. It started in Philadelphia. A place where millions of pennies were struck, unmarked by the P that defines modern Philadelphia coins. No mint mark, just the bare face of Abraham Lincoln, staring back like he knew what was coming. And in that sea of billions, one coin slipped through the cracks. A tiny flaw in the die, a doubling so sharp, so deliberate. It looked as though the word liberty itself had been whispered twice. In God We Trust appeared to echo, and 1995 shimmered like a reflection in water. Collectors call it the 1995 double die penny. But this isn't just an error. It's a ghost. A piece of history that shouldn't exist. Imagine this. A man in 1995, buying a cup of coffee, drops his change into the tip jar. Among the clink of coins, one stands out. Not because it shines, but because it's different. He doesn't know. He never will. That penny, the one he just gave away, could one day be worth nearly $1 million. Here's where it gets strange. Most 1995 pennies look identical. The mistake only happened in a fraction of a fraction, a single die used for a limited run. By the time the Mint caught it, the coins were already in circulation. And just like that, they disappeared into everyday life. Grocery stores, gas stations, desk drawers, forgotten piggy banks. Years later, a collector in Ohio found one. He almost sold it for a few cents. Until he looked closer, the doubling in liberty caught his eye. That coin sold for over $2,000. Then another surfaced, $5,000. Then $12,000. And now, the market has exploded. Right now, pristine examples of this 1995 no-mint mark double die penny are commanding up to $995,000 in private collections. But here's the twist most people don't know, and this is what you need to hear. The 1995 penny wasn't supposed to change history, but it became a symbol, a warning, a reminder that even the smallest mistake can turn into a miracle for someone paying attention. Every year, millions of Americans toss pennies aside, thinking they're worthless. But those who look closely, those who believe something rare might be hiding in plain sight, they're the ones who find freedom. So here's what you must look for. Hold your 1995 penny under a bright light. Focus on the words, liberty, and in God we trust. If the letters seem doubled, not blurry, not worn, but sharply, distinctly doubled, you could be staring at a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And remember, no mint mark means it came from Philadelphia. That's where this story began. That's where yours might begin too. Don't rush to sell. Don't clean it. Keep it safe. Get it authenticated by a trusted coin grading service. Because every day, more people wake up to this hidden treasure, and the market grows stronger. This isn't just about a coin. It's about possibility. About realizing that even the smallest piece of metal, forgotten by millions, can carry the weight of destiny for one. You might be one of the few who still hold it, tucked in a jar, resting in an old wallet, waiting for someone brave enough to look. The question is, will that someone be you? Because right now, that ordinary-looking 1995 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, the one almost no one notices, is worth up to $995,000, and it could be sitting in your pocket right now. There's a coin in America that almost no one talks about. A coin that hides in plain sight. A coin that looks ordinary, until you know the secret. It's the 1998 Lincoln penny. No mint mark. 1 cent. That could be worth a small fortune. Now, before you scoff, before you tell yourself, it's just a penny, listen carefully. Because this isn't just about copper and zinc. It's about how something so small, so ordinary, could hold the power to change a life overnight. Imagine opening an old drawer and finding a coin that the US Mint never meant to exist. Because in 1998, something unusual happened. Something that slipped past the careful eyes of inspectors, collectors, and history itself. A quiet minting anomaly, a forgotten detail, that would turn a handful of pennies into treasures worth thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. And one day, decades later, a man in Kansas found one. He didn't think much of it. Just a faded 1998 penny without a mint mark. The kind that usually means it was struck in Philadelphia. But under the right light, the lettering looked different, sharper, almost doubled. He sent it for verification. Weeks later, he received the call that stopped his breath cold. That single penny, something he might have spent on gum, was appraised at nearly $500,000. How could this happen? To understand, we have to go back, not to 1998, but to 1909, the birth of the Lincoln cent designed by Victor David Brenner. It carried not only Lincoln's profile but a silent legacy, to remind Americans that even the smallest currency could hold great meaning. But over the decades, that very coin became a playground for errors, double dies, missing mint marks, wrong planchets, mistakes that turned pocket change into pure gold. In 1998, during a transition between old and new die sets, the Mint accidentally released a limited batch of Lincoln pennies struck with the wrong reverse, the wide AM variety meant for proof coins only. For reasons still debated among experts, a few escaped into public circulation. No one knows how many. Some say a few dozen. Others, maybe a few hundred. But here's the twist. Among those few, some bore no mint mark, a detail that confounded collectors and sent shockwaves through the coin world. Because that missing letter wasn't a mistake of absence. It was a clue. A whisper from the Mint's hidden vaults. A trace of misalignment, an experiment gone unnoticed, or a deliberate replacement during the striking process. The exact origin remains a mystery, and that mystery is where the real value lies. Picture this. You're standing in line at a grocery store. You hand the cashier a penny without a second thought. You don't know that it's one of the rarest modern coins ever made. You don't know that collectors online are paying thousands, tens of thousands, just to own one pristine example. What if that penny was yours? What if you've already held it and let it go? The truth is, most people never look. They assume treasure comes in gold bars or old jewelry. But the greatest discoveries often hide in the smallest, most ordinary things. A dusty coin jar, an inherited box, a forgotten piggy bank. That if you want to find this rare 1998 penny, here's what to do. First, check the reverse, the back of the coin. Look closely between the letters in America. On the standard version, the A and M are nearly touching, but on the rare wide AM version, they're clearly separated. A small but powerful difference. Then, turn your eye to the front. No mint mark beneath the date? That's your signal. It was struck in Philadelphia. Combine that with the wide AM reverse, and you may be holding one of the rarest pennies of the modern era. Examine it under light. Look for doubling on Lincoln's eyes or letters. Preserve it carefully, don't polish or clean it. Even the faintest scratch can reduce its value dramatically. And if you find one that fits these clues, send it to a professional grading service. That single act could change everything. Because right now, collectors have paid over $25,000 for lower-grade versions of the 1998 wide AM penny. But the rarest specimens, flawless, untouched, with no mint mark, are valued near $998,000. Yes, nearly $1 million. For a coin worth 1 cent, and maybe that's the lesson the Lincoln penny has been trying to teach us all along. That true value doesn't shout. It whispers. It hides in the unnoticed, the overlooked, the everyday. It waits for someone curious enough, brave enough, to look closer. So tonight, when the world quiets down, grab that jar of coins from your kitchen counter. Pour them out. Let the light hit each one. Because maybe, just maybe, your fortune has been sitting there waiting all this time. The 1998 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. 1 cent that could be worth up to $998,000, and it could be sitting in your pocket right now. Have you ever held a penny so ordinary, so small, that it felt invisible, only to discover it was worth more than your car, your house, your entire past? Because right now, somewhere in America, someone is holding a 2020 Lincoln penny with a tiny D under the date. They think it's just 1 cent. They'll drop it in a tip jar or slide it across a gas station counter. And in that single moment, they'll lose the chance at a life they never imagined possible. That here's the truth no one's told you. This particular penny hides a secret so rare, even the US Mint doesn't want to talk about it. You see, 2020 wasn't just another year of pennies. It was a year of chaos, of broken systems, interrupted production, and something went very wrong inside the Denver Mint. Somewhere between the presses and the packaging, a handful of Lincoln cents slipped through with microscopic errors. Double dies, off-center strikes, shadowed faces, muted plating where the copper didn't adhere. And that's where the story begins. Because these weren't just mistakes. They were miracles of metal, born in the heart of a crisis. Imagine being the first person to notice it, turning that coin under the light, seeing a shimmer on Lincoln's eye that shouldn't exist. For one collector in Missouri, that moment changed everything. What looked like an ordinary 2020 D penny turned out to have a doubled obverse so distinct you could see Lincoln's second eye staring back at you. It was authenticated, graded, and eventually sold, rumored to have fetched over $180,000. But here's where things get stranger. Experts believe there are more out there, unfound, unnoticed, lost in jars, drawers, or the folds of time. Maybe even in your home right now. Think about that. What if your spare change, the pennies you've ignored for years, could hold a key to financial freedom? What if your story, the one you thought was small, was about to change forever? But this isn't about luck. It's about attention. It's about learning to see what others miss. Every 2020 D Lincoln penny carries the potential for error, but only the trained eye can spot the right one. Hold one up. Under bright light. Look closely at Lincoln's face, his eye, his ear, the words, "In God we trust." Any doubling? A blur of letters? The D mint mark slightly misplaced? Look again at the reverse side. Does the word 1 cent appear thicker? Almost ghosted. If you see it, don't brush it off. Don't spend it. Get it verified by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Protect it, because you might be holding a modern treasure. And here's the part few understand: the modern era, from 2019 to 2021, produced some of the most unpredictable mint errors in history. New equipment, high production speeds, low staff due to the pandemic. It was the perfect storm. A storm that minted fortune by accident. Collectors are already hunting these 2020 DS. Online forums are full of whispers, blurry photos, and late-night speculation. One man claims he sold his for $76,000 to a private buyer. Another says he found 2 more in circulation but refuses to sell until the market peaks. The coin world is shifting, and those who act now, who search now, will be the ones telling the story later. Because here's the thing about treasure: it's never lost. It's just waiting for the right eyes to see it. You don't need a metal detector. You don't need luck. You just need awareness, a little patience, and a belief that your next discovery could rewrite everything. So tonight, when the world quiets down, and it's just you and the coins you've saved for years, pull them out. Spread them across the table. Let the light hit each one. Look for the date, 2020. Then find that small D under Lincoln's shoulder. Examine it slowly, like you're holding history, because you are .1 wrong detail could make it priceless. One tiny imperfection could make it legendary. And right now, experts estimate that the rarest 2020 D Lincoln penny, the one with the perfect double die obverse, could be worth up to $220,000. A penny .1 cent, and it could be sitting in someone's pocket right now.